Hello there. How are you?
There you go.
There he
Good. How are
is.
you?
Very well, Jaime. Very well. Nice to meet you. You reached out to me on Facebook from. I guess you saw me from the Discord community. That was cool to see the crossing of the platforms.
Yeah. So how's it going?
Going well, going well. In here, just building in the space. About to launch another fund, a little private equity fund within the next probably a couple of weeks. We're hoping right after the first of the year. So just kind of getting our own family stuff out of the way with the holidays before we go into the craziness of doing capital raising. How about yourself?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
are you, sir? Tell me a little bit about
Good.
what you do
Same thing here, man.
in the industry.
Same thing here, man. Yeah. Same thing here with just getting over, or at least waiting for this whole holiday season to kind of be to the tail end because everybody's kind of out and about, doing their thing with family, which is great. So taking advantage of that while we can. But
Yes,
yeah, to
sir.
tell you a little bit about me and what I'm up to, man. So I'm a marketer by trade, and a couple years ago decided to jump on the real estate investing side. I actually climbed or jump off that corporate ladder, man, to get my time back, and
Sure.
decided to kind of venture off on my own. And I came across a college colleague of mine that she was raising capital for a deal. I'm in Central Florida, Orlando, Florida to be specific, and they were raising capital for a deal in Naples, Florida. And I had been doing some kind of unique things around the marketing space, trying to set myself apart from all the saturated marketing
Sure.
out there, marketing agencies out there, and we tried a few campaigns, and it was very successful. Within an hour, we were able to create a 1.2 million of opportunity. The minimum to come into that deal was like 100K. We got like 12 appointments for them, of which one of them came in within the hour. They were able to raise 100K, and then a few days later, they were able to close about 300. So total about 400K off of that 1.2 million. And she was like, "Hey, Jaime, you're up to something here, man. There's a lot of capital raisers, fund managers out there that may can use some of your help,
Sure.
doing this." I just started learning, about some of the challenges and things like that that a lot of capital raisers face, and trying to really leverage my marketing know-how to get in the game, right? And
Sure.
that's what I've been doing for a couple of years. Have been part of some deals and learning like the underwriting, the asset management, the acquisition phase. So I joined a couple of masterminds, of which one of them is one of my partners. So
Sure.
yeah, man, just trying to now to connect and continue building my network of contacts and friends, and that's what I love about this space, man. Everybody's really like open to network and help, and hey, I don't know, I'm not in this space, but I do know someone that is. Oh,
Certainly.
I may not be able to help you, but I know someone that is, that you should be able to connect with, and so on. So that's what I really like about this space, and just trying to make it happen.
Great, great. Okay, so you're more on the marketing side, if I understood right. You'd be good looking for clients that are trying to go through the fund building space or the investment space that are looking for someone to help them, get awareness and get a voice out there. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do the traditional, like, social media stuff, the branding, the ebooks, creating all that brand elements and
Sure.
assets for the fund or for the business. We filling the gaps. So I created a program where it's really built around fixing the challenge. A lot of,
Sure.
and you can probably kind of attest to this. Raising capital sometimes can be challenging. So the idea is really to build yourself a solid network
Certainly.
of investors that you can nurture over time. And so whenever you do have some deals that you come across that you want to raise capital, that you can tap into that network of investors, and knowing that they may not all invest in all of your deals, but at least you don't have to be scrambling
Sure.
out there for capital. So it's really not a band-aid fix or anything like that. It's more of a program, long term,
Sure. Lead
working together
generation.
shoulder to shoulder to really.
Sure, to
Go ahead.
foster those connections and to be able to get, to get them in your pipeline and hang on to them. No, I totally see that. That's great. That's great. And to know that you help with the asset creation as well, because that's a big thing. I mean, I know for myself running multiple projects, businesses, and campaigns at any given time, just the creation of the assets alone, if you're a one man show, can be daunting. It really can, even if it's just for one
Yeah,
endeavor.
yeah.
So no, I totally understand.
Yeah,
That's
and
great
that's
to
one
know
of
that you do
the
that.
problems that we've identified is the time, right?
Sure,
We hear a lot, from Hunter Thompson and all these other like really big names out there that are like, hey, we'll give you the blueprint, Alex Mosey, we'll give
sure.
you the blueprint, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and that's all great, man. But one of the challenges is really, creating those assets and executing on that blueprint.
That's it.
Um, a lot of times, I've come across a lot of people that say, I don't have the time or I don't have the skill set or
Sure.
both, right? They don't have the time and the skill sets to
That's
be able to
right.
do that. So that's where I come in to really help with that, and leverage that to kind of get into the real estate side, alongside of that.
Okay, so real estate's what you kind of stay in. That's your genre that you kind of stay in the bubble. Okay, okay. I like to know that. I have different little classifications of followers and people that listen to me and everything else and get my newsletters, and it's nice to know who I should be directing some of this to. That's always kind of nice to know. So, all right, well, great. Well, I'm glad to know what it is that you do in this space. Now, that's all I'm doing right now is trying to reach out, make connections, build the network, get that circle of people because really for me, it's not always about finding the investors. I got advertising money for that, right? That's what the marketing dollars kind of go for, right? For me, it's about building a professional network of people, to actually be able to communicate with and deal with on a long term basis. I haven't always been in this space. I've been in tons of other industries. And so coming into into the financial sector, the fund building, and this world of acquisition entrepreneurships, which I've been doing for about the last 3 or 4 years, um, most of my connections are local. So trying to move forward and to scale the things that I do and in the influence that I have amongst the network that I have, uh, needs to have a larger audience. So I figured, it's better to get out there and reach out and find some people on social media, find some people out there in the different servers that I'm a part of and different programs I'm a part of and say, hey, who wants to actually communicate and build something and build a real network to where we can bounce things off each other, do referrals, do just like you would do in a regular Web 2 environment, just kind of, long distance, almost Web 3 ish.
Right.
There you are. Yeah. So Naples. So you're in Naples.
No, Central Florida near Orlando. I'm actually about a little north of Orlando. The city is called the Berry. It's a small town. I actually moved from Miami to this area.
Oh,
Love it because it's a slower pace, not so much craziness. So
sure.
really like it up here. And yeah, I've been here for about 7 years. How
Awesome.
about yourself?
I'm actually in a little town called Spring Branch. It's about 30, 45 miles north of San Antonio. And everything that we do is in San Antonio. We just finally moved out here about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Started a little farm and said, I want a change of pace. I was doing the city life, two
Nice.
and a half million people surrounded me constantly. And we had, at the time, I want to say 7 or 8 different businesses locally that we were, either management or owned. And I said, hey, it's time to step out, get rid of some of this headache. Fortunately, it was the beginning of the economic downfall, I guess. So it didn't hurt us to do that, to scale down. That was kind of nice. It allowed us to step
Cool.
back. And in the meantime, we started a pastured pork operation that is now got 30 pigs that are about ready to go and butcher, and some more of them coming pregnant. So, yeah, that's what happens in
Oh,
a couple
that's
of years.
awesome.
Sure, sure, sure. So it's like it just rolled into another endeavor and into another endeavor. And because the economy was what it was, and we got to stay here at the house a little bit more, animals kind of just do their thing. You really just got to get them, take care of them, feed them, make sure they're all right. Hey, when they get old enough, they start breeding. That's it. That's it.
That's great, man.
Yeah. Well, no, I'll tell you what. I run a set of Twitter Spaces. I don't know if you're familiar with Twitter, or for Twitter Spaces. It's kind of like a podcast. It's on Twitter. Okay, I do a series of those. Run a little decentralized investment group that we also have a Discord server that we have people in there doing things. That's kind of where I got my start with fund building, was in the decentralized nature with crypto and NFTs and things like that. I didn't even know you could do it centralized until I came across all of that. I knew how to do it, just wasn't sure that an average person like myself could do it. And then once I realized I could, I didn't know anybody that would be able to afford to do it. So I said, hey, what I need to build is something for people like me. And that was an organization to where you didn't need to be accredited, an organization to where you can dollar cost average, put in what you got when you got it, and see that return in a reasonable amount of time. So that's what we did. And now that's 3 years ago. And here we are in our first centralized fund, which we're setting up a regulation CF right now, just a crowdfunding fund, so that we can keep it with non-accredited, because I like that. And it's just a little old $1 million raise, little bitty old $1 million raise, not a big thing. I've just never done a centralized raise, right? So I want to make sure that we're able to do it. I'm going to take 10 units out of it. Well, what we're doing is we're doing let's see, it's $10,000 a unit with 100 units. So you're looking at $1 million. I want to set aside 10 of those units to be purchased with cryptocurrency. Okay. Each one of those,
Oh, interesting.
each one of those units, a $10,000 increment, will be made up of 10,000 coins, 10,000 tokens for $1 each. So that way, your average Joe can go out there and get what he wants to when he wants to. Now he has to understand, the more you put in, the more you get. And if all you've got is $10 in a fund of $1 million, your distribution is not going to be wonderful. But that gives them the opportunity to get in with a way that they normally wouldn't be able to. So that's kind of the idea of where we're going with it. It's both centralized and decentralized coming together to do a crowd-funded private equity organization that pays off 80% of the profits every quarter. Not so bad, huh?
No, I mean, I think you're definitely up to something here, because like you said, it gives a lot of our us as an average Joe, the opportunity to get into something, and it
Sure,
started kind of multiplying and building that wealth that we all want, right?
sure,
Over
sure.
time.
Well, a lot of the people I know too, I spent most of my life building businesses. That's what it was, just building businesses from scratch. And the statistics, man, they're not great for success. Now, fortunately, I had a much higher success rate than most of the people that I know. Okay. I only lost probably 2 out of 10 instead of 8 out of 10.
Not
So,
bad.
yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
bad.
Now, most of them were just break evens, and they had a time period, and they end up expiring. And that's all there is to it. But I really, as I got older, I thought, I'm tired of just building these new things. And that's where I came into acquisition entrepreneurship, learning to go out and actually buy something. I shut more businesses down in my lifetime than had I known that they were even saleable. If I had even known that what I had built was something that someone would have paid for, and at the time, it didn't seem like it was significant to me with each one of those things. And in truth, people pay handsomely for the type of data that I collected, the type of revenue that was being generated, passively, and the systems that I actually put into place. And I just didn't realize what value those types of things had on them until years after I'd already shut those things down. So now here I am trying to, go about this a little smarter. And the people that I speak to and the people that I coach, many of them have always dreamt of being business owners, but they've always worked for the man, you know, and really they're our age, you know, they're 40s, 50s, you know, maybe even older. Uh, and they're saying, hey, I'm a little too old. I'm about to retire from this deal, and I really don't want to go start a business where I'm going to have to go work for myself. So, what can I do for a retirement? You know, really, because what we've made over our lives is not going to be in a retirement. It's not going to happen. So, what am I going to do other than going back to work at another place? And to me, the passive income from being able to join a membership to a fund, to an investment group, that you really just kind of put your money in, sit back and draw your distribution and be happy. Hey, you know, that's the whole name of the game, baby. It sure is. Sure is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, that's awesome, man. You're definitely doing something great, man, and providing um, again the average Joe the opportunity that we all need, right? So that I commend you for that, man. That's awesome. So
Thank.
how long you been in this endeavor?
Oh, only 3 years. Only 3 years. 4 years ago, it's kind of a funny story, and I've actually got tons of YouTube videos on it and content about it. But 4 years ago, I was completely homeless. Homeless, jobless, penniless, destitute, dropped off in a city where I didn't know anybody whatsoever, no money, no nothing. Slept in the pasture for about 2 months while I was building a business, right? I didn't go to work for anybody. I went to build a business and documented the whole thing, went through it. Now I own about 12 of them, bought, built, and sold about 30 of them in the last. But it took me a full year of building that first business to where I had people who knew who I was. I had some sort of entrepreneurial, you know, presence in my city, things like that. You know, after that, it was easy, but it took me about a year and a half before I finally had the connections that it took to go forward, you know, in a bigger space. And I've still not found like the deep pocket people. That's never been my, you know, my people. That's why I say this is the first time I'm going to be doing a, you know, a real centralized fund, doing actual capital raising instead of just getting on a Twitter space and raising from the decentralized world or you know, things like that on a very small
Right.
amount. So I'm looking forward to it. Now I've got to ask you, since you're in the marketing world and everybody that's going to listen to anything that I say, that's going to read any of my newsletters, watch any of my videos, they all want to know what can they do. If you had any tips, like as you're a professional in your field, or if there were three top tips that a person in my position, someone who's putting together a fund or who has built a fund and is about to launch, what could they do in truth to get in front of the best and largest audience themselves?
Well, the first and foremost, yeah, the first and foremost, and you probably already have this down packed, but it's really identifying your audience. Like, who is your audience? Like,
Sure.
who is your avatar? Like, who are you going to go after? Because that's going to determine what channels you're going to use or what channel you're going to use, right?
Certainly.
So let's say high net worth individuals. You know, one of the channels that I experience that you can find you know high net worth individuals is through LinkedIn.
Sure.
You know, most of the doctors, the lawyers, the you know CEOs that you know large corporations, that's where they can be found, right? So it's a different strategy than you would with like a Facebook
Sure.
or TikTok and so on. But it boils down to your audience because if you're going after tech, then you're probably not going to necessarily always use LinkedIn, but you're probably use like TikTok videos and things like that because there's a younger demographic that they're probably consuming more content in those channels versus you know even like a Facebook. I mean, so I think it first identify your avatar very clearly,
Yeah.
and
Know your
then
audience.
that's going to help you determine what channel you're going to use. So pick a channel that you can use a whole bunch of channels, right? But really identifying the one that it's really going to give you more bang to your buck in terms of making sure that you're going to be able to deliver effectively through that channel is going to be you know more efficient.
Sure.
So what I mean by that is, let's say you identify that YouTube is the channel. Well, you already have a whole bunch of videos there that you can drive traffic to them.
Certainly.
If it's LinkedIn, you know, write articles and you know put out content that it's valuable out
Sure.
there, which leads kind of to the second to the third avatar. Identify your avatar, pick a channel, and then what value can you present to them? Like,
Sure.
how can you help that audience really be informed? Depending on the audience, like what level are they, like a seasoned investor, or are you going after like investors or anyone entering that
That realm.
investment space?
Sure.
So that's going to help you determine what type of content you're going to be able to put out,
Sure.
right? So now by that point, you're very like laser focused, right? Like, you know, when you wake up every day, it's like, I'm going to go after this avatar, I'm going to use this channel, and this is the content that I'm going to produce.
Right.
So that's going to really kind of give you a better sense of direction every day when you wake up, right? You're not like, oh, what am I going to do today? I'm going to use Facebook, or I'm going to use my website. I mean, all those things, you can use them and you should, but you know, one thing is being very intentional
Sure.
and identifying these three, I guess, suggestions. And I don't know
Sure.
if I'm probably preaching to the choir here at some level, but it definitely could be reassuring.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. And even whether I've told anybody this stuff or not, it's always nice to hear someone else who is a professional in their field state or restate the same types of things. So know your audience, understand them and speak to them on the appropriate platform. That's what you're getting at. So that's gold. I mean, that's gold. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
even realize that that's something they need to do. They just get on the thing that they're comfortable with and they do that. And that may not be where your investor base is. That may not be where your audience lives. You really have to think about that and how to cater the content to that natively to that platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one is that nurturing part. Again, just kind of interviewing
Sure.
various fund managers and capital raisers. A lot of them have like, oh, you know, you ask them, it's like, yeah, I already have a CRM. Yeah, I'm already leveraging my network. I meet people in different conferences and networking events, but there's really no ecosystem. I call it like the growth program ecosystem that's going to help you nurture
Sure.
those potential investors, right, and educate them and really build a relationship. If I was to ask you, Chris, hey, I have this amazing deal, man, and here are the numbers, and I need 100K, and you're like, yeah, man, the numbers are awesome, but you know, let's get to know each other a little bit. Let me see what
Sure.
you're all about, and let me see what, you know, your track record, or let's kind of get comfortable here, right, before we kind of, you know, go to that next step.
Sure.
And while there's a lot of people that are ready to jump in or whatever, you know, for the most part, you probably heard this. People like to invest in people, not so much in deals, but people they trust,
Certainly.
that they feel comfortable with. And hey, if Chris said that it's a good deal, it's a good deal, man. Just tell me, where do I need to write that check?
Well,
You
that's
know,
exactly the
so
reason that
that's what really.
That's exactly the reason I
Go ahead.
ask you on a Zoom call, Jaime, just because it is so important when you're able to look another human being in the face, talk to them, see who they are. It's not just an avatar. It's not just a PFP profile picture. It's not any of that. It's not a beautifully written chat GPT article. It's the human. It's the human element. And really,
Yeah.
my connections in the real world in these types of spaces very limited. So I would rather have a real connection with somebody that I've spoken to on Zoom. I've spent, 30 minutes with or so, just talking about who we are together, what you can do, what I can do, how we can do those things together, as opposed to just somebody I reach out to on LinkedIn. This is more meaningful to me. And when I happen to tell people
Yeah.
about it, and there are those referrals that happen, because I am a very strong advocate for networking and doing those referrals. I mean, your network is your net worth. So let's build it, build it, build it. And when I send out my newsletters and I send out my videos, I make sure that all of your links would be in there. So, by the way, please provide me with any types of links that I could to your services, to your website, anything that you'd like somebody to follow. And as I do my stuff and tell people about things, I'll be sure and post those types of material too. So, like I said, a lot of these things come into snippets that turn into social media posts and what have you. You just never know. You just never know. So it's always good for people to be able to get a hold of you and know how to hire you, know how to, to pay for your services. That's what we want them to know how to do. So now, what does a partnership with you look like? If someone just says, "Hey, Jaime, I'd really like to come in. I've got a company that does X, Y, Z, and I would, we're about to launch, and I need some help." What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So number one, we do kind of like a discovery call, basically learning what your goals and your objectives are, like where you're at, where you want to go. Learn a little bit about that, and then number two, we actually build a marketing strategy, right,
Great.
to make sure that we're leveraging um, every tactic that we can to get you to that goal and
Sure.
that objective. And then the third part is, help you with the execution, right? We
Great.
just don't give you the strategy and, good luck with that, Chris. No, we actually work with you shoulder to shoulder and in lockstep to make sure that we're able to execute appropriately and make the necessary adjustments along the way. So we don't leave you alone in that regards. And then what does that look like perhaps in compensation, which is probably the next question, is, based on the goals and what we're going to do. Because again, we do everything from, building the brand from scratch to, executing, whatever you need to execute. Maybe you're like, listen, I already have the social media part taken care of. I need help with the website. I need help with content development and maintaining my website. Hey, we can fill in that gap. Maybe you don't have a CRM. Well, we have a CRM that we can help you build and leverage to funnel in those leads so you
Sure.
can convert them into, potential investor and start nurturing them there. So this is not a one size fits all program. It's more like, what do you need and how we can fill in those gaps. And
Sure.
then once we identify what gaps, then we kind of go into, the cost and things like that. The way that I've done it, or that I've been doing it, I like to have some skin in the game. I found that to be very effective. So let's say, just to give you an example, let's say you have a business that is or a deal, right? That you're raising capital for. Well, I'll say, look, let's work on whatever you and I agree on the consulting fee to be, and we'll do a split, right? And we'll split that consulting fee with a GP spot,
Sure.
and that way it's in my best interest. It lowers your risk, and then I get some skin in the game. I might not get the whole like consulting fee that I would normally charge. Let's say it's $6,000 a month. We'll bring it down, and depending on what that GP spot, we'll bring it to $3,000, and then I can wait right on the GP spot. We can work that way. So again, that kind of lowers the risk on your end, and it gives me an opportunity to, over time earn more, right? So the idea is that I don't trip over the pennies to get to the dollars.
Sure. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. As a matter of fact, okay, now you told me, fund marketing, and I never snapped. Oh, this guy's the capital raiser. Hang on a minute. Never snapped. Never snapped. That's what you're, that guy. You're that guy that every fund needs. You're the one who needs to be that partner. Yes. Okay, now I get where you're coming from. And so that's on the table is what you're getting at. That's the service that you
Yeah.
do for. Wonderful. So see, I love to know
Yeah,
how that works.
absolutely. Yeah, so the idea is like, like the way that I set myself apart is really like, can I come in and you pay me, just like, any other, marketing agency that come in. But, the idea here is to become your partner to a certain level, right? Get a little piece of the pie. Again, that way you are lowering the risk a little bit. You're not so much out of pocket. I do that because I'm confident on what I offer.
Sure. Sure.
right? That's why I do that, and I know it's worked because I've proven to
Yeah.
work with others, and it's working for others. Like right now, we have some deals that is like, hey, I need to raise capital, and here's the thing, it's not necessary. So we have two approaches initially. The number one approach, really, to get you some quick wins, is that we're going to leverage what I call a investor database reactivation. So let's say
Sure.
you have a list of potential investors that you want to reach out in the masses. So we run some text messages campaign, some email campaigns right off the bat to see
Sure.
how much money we can bring in with your warm audience or people that know who Chris Day is, right?
Right. Right.
So we leverage that, and then the other part is leveraging other assets, a ebook, your podcast, webinars, things like that, that we can bring in new leads, that we can
Sure.
funnel them through the CRM so we can start nurturing them, put them in different buckets. And now we have these like well-oiled machine or ecosystem that is evolving every
Right.
time,
Right.
right? So now long term, you're not scrambling or struggling for capital later on.
Sure, sure. Now, I got to tell you, all of that sounds wonderful. And from someone who has a bit of a marketing background myself, those are the things that are needed, right? But there was one gem or a couple of gems that you threw out in there that were golden for anybody who doesn't pick them up. And when I talk about this, you mentioned working for equity partnership and you worked on performance based pay. Those two things together, okay, are golden for anybody who's got actual opportunity. And I'm sure that's kind of how that works. You look at the opportunity. If it looks like a shit deal, of course you don't want to do nothing with them. But if it does, you might want to go forward. Is that kind of the gist?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
I love it.
absolutely,
I love it.
absolutely. I've done that with, so before I got into the real estate side, I did that with med spas and dentists, and said, listen, let me come in and I'll show you what I got. Zero risk to you. You have nothing to lose.
Sure.
Let me get the foot in the door and show you what I can do. Instead of having to put a lot of money up front without knowing,
Sure.
let me do that, and then we can go into the performance base.
Yeah.
So for every new patient that I get through the door, you get me X percent.
Sure.
So
Sure.
it's a win-win because
Yeah.
I'm getting someone that is $300, and out of those $300, you're paying me $25 or whatever it is,
Sure. Sure.
right?
Sure.
$20. It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's the
I'm putting
percentage.
money in your pocket so you can pay me.
That's it. No, no. And myself, I've been looking for somebody like you for 3 years. I've been out there trying to build community and figure out who does this well, and then put them on a task and all of this and that. But I didn't realize there were people that actually kind of did it for a living, and that's what they called it. So you and I are going to have some further talks here pretty soon. Like I said, I'm looking at doing my things right after first of the year, so I'm very interested in talking to you about that because this is a big thing for me and for my family and everything else. So
Yeah,
if I could
absolutely.
bring on somebody to really help make it
Yeah,
successful beyond what I could ever do, I'm more than willing to sit down and talk to you about that. Now, there is a question I got to ask because I've done a lot of marketing campaigns with different companies and stuff. Really, we generally work out okay as far as those payments. The question that I have, because all of them tell me something different, and I've found that some of them are right. When you first get going, what type of ad spend are you looking for? Because you got to start off with a bang. I understand. So, really, I mean, even if somebody says, yes, I'm willing to do the work for XYZ and that's affordable, well, you still got to come out on the ad spend. So, what do you really suggest someone start off with? Just ballpark number.
so if I had, yeah, if I had to kind of take it out of a hat without
Sure.
asking the questions or whatever,
Yeah.
it could, typically I would say about $1,000, $2,000 a month. And
Okay.
even depending on what type of business it is, it could be even higher than that. I have
Sure.
people say, look, I don't work with anyone that's not spending 5 to 10 grand a month, so they're at another level. So It all depends.
Right.
So I'm going to work backwards to answer your question or to elaborate a little bit more on your question. Is the way that we determine how much really is like I'll tell you, hey Chris, if you want to run some ad spend, let's say Facebook, um, let's start small. Let's start like with $500 a month.
Yeah.
Or typically, I say let's start with $15 to $20 a day
Sure.
to make sure we understand what's working and what's not working. So we'll run
Gotcha.
the campaigns for 2 or 3 weeks. Typically, we know by then we should already actually less than that. I would say 2 weeks max.
Sure.
We should already know what headlines work, what descriptions work, what creative works,
Sure.
right? For the most part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
within those 2 weeks, we're going to be able to start adjusting the daily spend.
Sure.
Maybe we start at 15, then we go to 20, then we go to 30. Maybe we're running different ad sets. Then we're like, okay, this one is not working. Let's allocate these $10 to this one that it's really doing well.
Sure.
Let's target certain geographical areas. Let's do
Right.
lookalike audiences. So there's a lot of components. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that we need to. And then once we find kind of like that secret sauce, then we say, all right, awesome. Let's do $50 a month. And we start ramping it up. Boom,
Gotcha.
boom,
Gotcha.
boom, boom, boom. And that way you're not immediately coming out with $2,000 like
Okay.
off the bat because
Okay.
you don't want to do that, right? Because especially you're not paying me the $2,000. You're paying
Yeah.
Facebook the $2,000.
Sure.
They'll take it.
That's right.
If you don't know how to run it, they'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, like that in a heartbeat.
That's the reason
So
I ask. When
so
I've
the
talked to
idea
several
is
of the
really to start learning what works and what doesn't.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's the reason that I ask. When I've talked to some of these other guys, like some of them say, oh, well, we're going to start off. It's going to be your social media and then Google ads, Google AdWords, AdSense, whatever. And we're going to need to start off with $500 on this platform. We're going to need $300 on this platform. And then we can do the other ones at XYZ. And they've told me, they said, man, if you don't run this amount of money on this platform, it doesn't get seen. So I didn't know if you had seen that or if that's just a marketing ploy for people to try to get some. Yeah, I don't know.
Listen, this is how the way that I would do it, depending on what you're doing. And again, that's why it boils down to the strategy.
Sure.
All right, why are we going to do Google Ads? I'm a proponent of Google Ads. If it fits the strategy,
sure,
then let's do it by all means.
Right.
But first and foremost is like, let's identify which channel it's going to be the most appropriate
That's right.
for you to use before we get into deciding $500 here, $500 there.
Sure.
I want to identify, maybe it's not even fake Google ads. Maybe let's work on LinkedIn because that's where your audience. LinkedIn ads, it's a little bit more expensive, but the quality is better.
There you go.
And the other thing is LinkedIn organic. It takes a little bit longer, but it gives you better results.
Okay.
So my first approach is like, what can we do without having to have an ad spend budget? That's why I do the database reactivation, because what happened with that was that I was able to come into a business and say, listen, I can get you X amount of customers this month, or patients or clients this month, without you having to run ad spend.
Sure.
And how did I do that? A lot of us business owners tend to focus on new customers, new investors, new clients, new patients.
Right.
And sometimes we lose sight of
retention,
the past customers, past investors, people that know who we are, and we're leaving money on the table.
Sure.
That's why I call it a database reactivation. That can say, hey, Chris, how's it going, man? This is Jaime. Hey, we talked back 3 months ago, and man, I have this amazing offer for you to come in and use, experience some of our new equipment in our gym.
Sure.
That I think you're gonna really like, and we'll give you 30 days for free, man, just because you were with us before. Whatever.
Sure.
I'm just kind of
sure.
throwing that out there. Well, it's more likely that you're probably going to come in. It's like it's for free.
Sure.
And if you have a good database that we can do that,
Sure.
the likelihood of them responding. And if we do this through text messaging, if I was to text you tomorrow and say, "Hey, Chris, this is Jaime. Hey, we talked yesterday. We talked a week ago. We talked a month ago. Man, how's it going?" You're gonna be like, "Hey, Jaime, man, how's it going, man? Good to hear from you." Right?
Sure. Sure.
Versus cold.
Yeah. No, that's what I
So
do
that's how
now.
we get the results immediately.
Yeah.
And then if
Yeah, that's what I do now. I
that's
use
amazing.
Text
I
Magic for
love that you
that.
do that. Not a
Oh
lot
no,
of
I
people
got
are doing that.
full CRM, email campaigns, all that kind of stuff. I've been A/B testing for years, doing all this, but it's still mostly me because I tell you what, I'm the one who knows how to do it all. I do the Facebook pixel tracking and all the different tracking codes and installing them in, doing the SEO on the websites and everything else. That's me. All the meta tags. That's me.
That's rough.
It is. It is. It is. And it boils down to I never know anybody else that knows how to do at least what I know how to do. And if they can't do what I know how to do and I'm not that great, then, I'm sure not going to pay them. So, yeah, no, hearing that there's another human being on the other side of this line right here that does know, hey, we might have to just strike up a beautiful relationship.
Here, I'm gonna put it here in the chat real quick
Great.
for you. I have a deck that I've been working on to try to answer as many questions, and this is kind of like a pitch deck
Great.
type of thing. I'm gonna put it here in the chat for you to take a look. Where's the chat?
Yeah,
It's a Google slide.
there it is.
Actually, let me see. And man, just take a look at it, man, and you can see, what we offer. Yeah.
Here we go. I'm going to open that up in another tab so that I have it when we get off here. There we go. And I tell you what, as far as that, I think I've pretty well picked your brain on who you are and what you do. That's kind of what I'm really just trying to build the network, see who's out there and how we might be able to work together and what I might be able to do for you. Now, I normally ask everybody that I talk to if there are two different types of people that I could introduce you to, who would they be?
Fund managers, uh, syndicators, people that are trying to raise money, that are trying to build their network of investors. Um, that would be the ideal. That's actually my target audience, is like fund managers, people that have deals, people that are syndicating, that are already cash flowing, that have some interesting deals.
Sure.
Out there, because what I'm trying to leverage is exactly what I was telling you. That they have some attractive deals that I can be part of, so we can leverage to kind of offset the cost, because I do have some hard costs on my end to be able to service and be able to do that SEO, to be able to do the content, to be able to. So this is like a team, a marketing team that you are going to be that you're going to be adding to your business, right? So that's who we are, and that's what we do, and that's how we kind of work together.
Man, I thank you, for telling me that and for spending your time with me and scheduling this on such short notice too, because really that was a spur of the moment deal. I just said, hey, let's get this dude on a Zoom call and see. So, man, I'm happy that you clicked the button and set it up on the same day. That's amazing, and really that there was a spot open.
Yeah, there was a spot. So I mean, hey, if I have time, like you said, I'm whether we work together or not, man, the most important thing here is to, like you said, build that friendship, and whatever I can do to answer any questions. If you're working with someone else and you're like, man, I'm not sure what they're telling me, let me run it behind and see what he thinks. You're only going to get a genuine, authentic response from me.
Thank you.
So please feel free to reach out, man.
I'll definitely do that. I'll definitely do that. Now, would you mind if I send you a form, you can get on the newsletter, start getting my normal, because I really don't just send it to people unless they actually want it. It's just a regular reminder to my private network about little things that happen. Some of it is business related. Some of it is just kind of letting you know what's going on. But there's
Yeah,
always some call to action. And if nothing else, it talks about multiple industries to multiple people so that you can stay connected. Those people building funds in the real estate industry. Well, I got a real estate basis. I do a lot of networking events here locally, and a lot of those people are real estate investors, real estate wholesalers, brokers, dealers, agents, whatever, and they're all in my CRM. So sometimes I'll do specific things to them. Hey, if you're into real estate, I've got XYZ coming up. And or I know somebody who's looking for XYZ. If you're that person, click the button, connect with them. Things like that. So would you be interested in being on that?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Because the segment thing. Your list is important, right? You don't want to send me stuff that I'm not like. If I'm in multifamily, I want to hear about multifamily,
Sure.
right? I don't want to. I want to be served, relevant information. So, again, what you're doing is it's a good thing, and
Thank you.
it's going to make you more efficient, and you're going to have less people opting out and unsubscribing for sure.
Yeah, well, I really try to. It's a basic newsletter that I do that talks about all the different things that I do. Like I said, we own about a dozen businesses, so there's a lot of different things that we'll talk about. And generally, I'm just talking to the audience. I'm talking to the network, to my people who I've generally met some way, shape, or form.
Nice,
Right. And sometimes
gotcha.
it's a video message where I just get up in the morning and say, hey, this is my morning message, guys. This is what's going on. If you like what I'm doing, click that button and we'll talk about that later. If not, we'll stay tuned tomorrow for something else. You know, but we just like we had a partnership, a business partnership. We took a trip to Dallas to go meet with them and do a dinner. Well, I wanted to showcase our partners. They're an older couple. This is their very first business endeavor. And now, in truth, I've got like 3,000 people on the list. So not only did they see, after I've been sending an email saying, hey, do you want to do some partnerships? They see that somebody said yes. They see that it's a nice, respectable looking family. They see that we actually do what we say we're going to do. They hear from the person how happy they are to be joining a deal like this. So it works for everybody. Makes them happy. They have something to share to their friends and family on their stuff. And then our network sees that we do what we do. So, all right. Well, Jaime,
Right,
it
right.
looks like that.
Awesome, man. But but yeah, man, for sure. Let's stay in touch. Anything that I can do to help, man. For sure. You know where to find me.
Same here, Jaime. Same here. If you know anybody who's interested in these types of things, who just likes to talk and shoot the shit, really, I'm good for just bouncing ideas off somebody, just to have a little bit of. Well, I tell you, I'm really trying to grow my own circle as well. The conversations that we have outside of our day to day are eating pizza, watching whatever movie you watched, and whatever goofy thing your kid or your grandkid did. That's just that's really not the most stimulating thing that I want to do every day. I would much rather have some nice, intelligent, stimulating conversations with other like-minded individuals, and to have you in the Rolodex, to have you on the list, man. That's what I'm doing here. So thanks, man. I appreciate you spending your time with me, and I'm going to let you go ahead and have the rest of your afternoon to yourself. Have a good evening.